Thank you very much. And okay, I would like to make some offers for you for my vision on possible development of your paper. And first of all, I would pay more attention to the different theories of political myth and political mythology, and I advise for you to take Ernst Cassirer, a book on symbolical forms of thinking, first value, devoted to the mythical thinking, as well as his book, The Myth of the State, which was devoted to the critique of Nazi state, but it's important as well as for the first rational characteristics of political myth that is, could be useful for describing what does mean myth, but in a way that in Bulgarian or Romanian traditions there are a lot of different researchers who did very good investigation in this field, like Tsvetan Todorov in Bulgaria. Another my remark is about, you know, that you tell us about a few stages of transfer, how different nations comprehend their transformations, and ordinarily they use very different concepts. First of all, resurrection mostly Christian idea, resurrection of Jesus Christ, first of all. But you know, later Tom Münzer and later Adam Mackiewicz, they use the same concept for the describing of nation. For example, in the late period of Adam Mackiewicz works, he wrote about resurrection of Poland from crucifixion after Russian Empire. And these texts are very important not because, you know, Mackiewicz did something interesting, but because fact of mix between resurrection and revelation. And it shows, like in Derrida's style, some shift or difference between the one stage of consciousness and another stage. We see how religious concept, step by step, was transformed into political or even secular concept through Tom Münzer or Adam Mackiewicz works, from resurrection to revelation. Then again, you described a lot different Bulgarians who wrote about revelation, and I offer just because I read your paper, not just listen to your presentation, I offer for you to put more big quotes from different periods who wrote about revelation, in order to understand better what they meant about it. About differences, how this concept was developed between them. And I'm not, actually the next step, revolution, as well as very important and interesting. At the beginning, communists interpreted revolution very similar to religious concepts, as well as to revelation, but later they put different content into this concept of revolution, and again to show this shift and difference from the revelation could be done more precisely, and in order to be, and just I offer to show more clear that this you develop this concept. Another what I would like to offer for you ordinarily tell us about myth makers, but from the other side you use materials from historians, and I remember that Winston Churchill one time called Balkans, not Bulgarians, but Balkans in general, that Balkans produce more history than they could consume it. That it means that they ordinarily produce, that on my opinion it means a little bit different, that these countries produce so many histories that because they have some kind of market or even demand for the history consumption, it means that because you tell us how many histories were produced in Bulgaria, it means that people, probably audiences, would like to accept, to take these histories to read them. That is important. And to explain this demand for the historical stories would be as well as nice not to pay attention only to historians but to audiences and to demands as well. Then again, in this sense, it will be very nice to find differences between producers of history and producers of myth. Are the same or different? It's not was very clear for me from your presentation. Then I just because I am not very involved into Bulgarian history, I found one paper before in order to understand better your considerations, and I read, I don't know, is it popular, non-popular, or very important author or not very important, just some Alexander Nikolov from Clement Ordinsky Sofia University, and he wrote about on my case, quite interesting paper, the Proto-Bulgarians, Old Theories, New Myth, and the phenomenon of parahistory in post-communist Bulgaria. But this paper was interesting for me in order to understand some discussions about history. And what was interesting for me and easy to understand you was that there are a lot alternative tellings, and in this case only because there are alternatives of origin of Bulgarians. I could accept your paper that revelation could be interpreted as a myth, as a political myth. Why? Because in order to tell that this or the another is myth, we need to show all the specificity of narratives, that is narrative, from a narrative point of view, it is myth, or in order to show different alternatives. And for example, this author wrote that some historians or traditions in Bulgaria would like to suppose that Bulgarians came from, for example, from Slavs from Volga, like Volga. The another is that is maybe more or less popular. The another story is, for me, it's very strange, from Pamir Aryans. This is German version of origin. The next is actually Thraco-Macedonians. This is next. And then what is very important on your paper, that is originally they are Turks, but Turks who lost their Turkish language and start to speak mix of Turks and Slavs language. I don't know. I don't pretend to be correct here. Just tell stories, because I didn't check no one story from this one. But why from discursive viewpoint it's important? Because it shows that you know that those who tell about a revelation, they need to choose one of them of these stories. To choose one of them as an essential, as a core, as a soil, as a blood, you know, this is a very nationalistic rhetoric to choose, and to present this rhetoric as a myth. And in this case, I agree with you. This is political mythology, and but I could understand this political mythology and the purpose of this political mythology because I have some vision of this one alternatives. And alternatives help for me to comprehend and to compare there are other possibilities. After the checking of the other alternatives or tellings, from the one point that there are many different issues of Bulgars from a narrative point of view, or from the another, this is could be tell us from the viewpoint of resurrection, religious resurrection, secular resurrection, revelation, religious, secular revelations, and different, again, stories from revolution. Exclusion exists only about cult death because this taking power through elites, it's not ordinarily very popular, and people don't create political myth about it. So this is all what I would like to say you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wants to comment? Kastytis, yes.
I would like to ask you, maybe the text will explain it. Some concept of Turkish yoke, it's probably came from Russia, from Nikolai Karamzin, calling it Mongolian Tatarian yoke, and that idea is still mostly in use in Russian historiography. And do Bulgarian historians invented took the very idea from Russia? Another thing is about Soviet-style marxists. We looked at the past and everywhere saw class struggle, and any bandit and religion war always was described as struggle of exploited masses with feudals or bourgeoisie. In Russia it came to extreme examples when Ivan Shamil was described as fighter against feudalism, or Kozak Ivan Bolotnikov. He fought for false Dmitry, but he became leader of peasants' war against feudals and so on. This idea also came from Stalin time to Bulgarian historians or local smart ideologists had their own some original ideas. In other words, how much Russian history or Soviet history took part in the creation of such myth?
Thank you. Yeah, as I think, it's for sure that Russian historiography and Soviet historiography influenced the Bulgarian one, and but the idea of Turkish yoke and Greek religious yoke appeared in the work of Paisi Hilindarsky in 1762. So maybe it was like both factors, Bulgarian one and Russian one, which influenced the conservation of this idea in Bulgarian historiography. And about Soviet historiography, what I want to say, in 40s and till 60s, the Bulgarian works practically copied Soviet works on revival. It's practically the same ideas, the same formulations, the same, I don't know. And step by step, from 60s, from the beginning of 60s, the Bulgarian historiography became a bit more independent from Soviet one. Appeared more nationalist versions, not so class-dominated interpretation of revival.
If no more questions, then
Thank you very much.
yeah. So now it's time for coffee break in the same place. And after the coffee break, we'll have two presentations. One is by Catalina Botes, and then documentary film on Bulgarian artist Dogo Bangov with the special introduction by Göran Oldych, who is already here. So let's go for coffee break.